Welcome back, Guardians, to another Dream Team video. I am your humble host, Meesum777, and a good friend of mine, Hawaiian Guy 808, kindly requested that I help clean his vault. And for a small price, I was more than willing to do so because he said he had over 500 items in his vault. And here's the thing. I'm really good at cleaning my vault, and I figured I would share some of that knowledge with you guys. Now, the thing is that I've made a video on this in the past, but I figured I would freshen it up a little bit and discuss some things to do without using DIM and other item managers like that, because I'm not going to be using those tools. I'm not going to have access to those tools here, so we're going to be doing this a little bit differently. I figured, hey, give a man a fish, you feed him for a day, teach a man a fish, you feed him for a lifetime. So Hawaiian, this is for you, my friend. I'm not going to obviously show you the probably hour it's going to take to get through this vault, but I will point out a few things and I will give you some general walkthroughs on how we're going to do this. So starting off, we got to get absolutely everything out of our inventory. Now, oh my gosh, yeah, he's got a lot of duplicates. Yeah, we'll be fixing this here soon. He's given me full permission to get rid of absolutely anything that we want, duplicate items, weapons, etc. So first and foremost, we gotta store and get rid of as much stuff as possible. The thing is that, okay, he does have enough space, so we can make this work. All right, awesome. So anything that we are not currently using, throw it into the vault. Everything we're not currently using right now. We gotta have a clean inventory. Perfect. All right, now armor, we're not going to worry too much about here. I'm primarily going to be focusing on our weapons here. All right, so here's the thing. Here's how it works, all right? Ladies and gentle guardians, what you're looking to do is that you're looking to compare side by side according to a couple different criteria here, side by side different archetypes of weapons. For example, we've got a lot of spare rations here. These are all lightweight kinetic hand cannons. So what we're going to be doing is we're going to be comparing all lightweight kinetic hand cannons together, and I will give you some more information as to the gist as to what and how I'm going about doing that here. So let's just go ahead and start with hand cannons. Now the thing is, now that he's got so many duplicates, this is going to be actually pretty easy for this. We're going to start by comparing the duplicate items side by side and making some really quick, snappy decisions. For example, I'm sure there's going to be other 140 hand cannons, but being that these are all sorted nicely right on top of one another for us, we're just going to pick out of these better devils here which ones we think are the best. So we've got Outlaw, time payload, moving target, time payload, rangefinder, time payload, and Outlaw explosive payload. Now, I'm starting to get the idea that he likes explosive payload on this, which isn't a bad perk by any means. So let's start all we care about. The first glance, number one, the number one step that we are concerned about is the perks. A weapon can have absolutely fantastic stats, but if its perks are absolute dog crap, you're not going to find yourself having a good time with them. So, starting with the perks, I'd say probably this rangefinder time payload is the best way to go. All these other ones are good picks, but I think rangefinder on a hand cannon is absolutely fantastic. He happens to have this one masterworked. The thing is that we can start talking about more specifics here, but just looking at this one in particular, it has Outlaw with explosive payload, and more than likely you're not going to get the chance to proc that Outlaw as much as you might like. So this one's going away. This one's going away, and this one's going away. And essentially, we're just going to rinse and repeat for the rest of everything else here. I will catch you as soon as I'm done getting rid of all of these weapon duplicates. So I immediately found something that I figured I should call out here. We want to get the cream of the crop for every single archetype per the different damage type of weapon, right? So we want to get the best energy hand cannon, the best kinetic hand cannon for 150, 140, 110, etc., right? 180s as well, right? We want to get the best. But one thing that is important to keep in mind is sometimes we come up with roles that are very unique and interesting. For example, this role is absolutely terrible in PvP, but in PvE, this one isn't bad. This is not a bad PvE role. So for the sake of making sure that we can get everything that we're looking for both PvP and PvE, we're going to maintain and we're going to keep any roles of weapons that are special, any type of stuff that's really cool, that synergizes well, or stuff that might be an interesting idea for later down the line. If we can think to ourselves now, hey, I can see this having some pretty interesting synergies later down the line, and they perfectly synergize with one another, like for example, Subsistence and Rampage would be a little bit better here, but Swashbuckler works just the same, as you guys are probably aware. We're gonna keep one of those, but we only allow ourselves one of those. We don't allow ourselves to have more than one special exclusive rule to this. Otherwise, we're going to be looking for the God roll PvP stuff, and if you want videos on that, there are hundreds of videos. That is not what we're going to be covering here. But anyway, I will catch you guys after I've gotten rid of all of these duplicates. Okay, let's talk about when we've got something that's got a basically identical perk allocation, or something that we can consider identical perk allocations. We've gone through a lot of the weapons already, and I came across these two Awe-Stringers, both of which have absolutely fantastic rolls. Eye of the Storm, Rangefinder, Eye of the Storm, Rangefinder. Now, we start looking at stats. So, on console in particular, stability for hand cannons is the way to go. We can see this one here, it's got some really nice range, right? Which might be good, so we're gonna kind of compare these side by side here. Let's take a look at this Awe-Stringer, let's see what we can do for it. So we can slightly reduce it, we could put some more there. Yeah, he's got the right idea for small bore, I think. We could give it slightly more range. The reload speed we really don't care about. It also has a range masterwork. Okay, that's good to keep in mind. Masterwork is sort of the last thing we end up checking, because masterwork will help, but it won't make or break the weapon. Accurized rounds, we can give it a little bit more handling. So it really comes down to, with this one, whether we prefer stability or range. Again, for console, it's stability. For PC, it's going to be range. So, despite this Awe-Stringer being fantastic, this one is the superior Awe-Stringer, at least for console. Okay, we have come to the end. That was quite a bit of surfing through all of these items. We have drastically reduced the overall size of his vault. Now here's the thing, normally I would go through the armor here, but the thing is that armor is incredibly specific. That's part of the reason I'm highly against it for sunsetting. It's incredibly specific to the type of build that you're looking for. So I will not be touching armor in this one. Let me give you my general tips for armor, right? So for each affinity, solar, arc, void, all this other stuff, right? For each affinity, you want to keep one of that affinity of your favorite type, all right? Or your favorite roll, all right? So if you've got, let's say, void chess piece, okay? You're only ever going to compare void chess pieces to void chess pieces. Now, of course, if you find a chess piece that's just like amazing, right, but it's not quite as good as your void chess piece, of course you can swap its affinity, right? But in general, that's what you're going to be looking for, right? So that means that you should never actually have any armor in your vault, unless you've got something specific you're trying to build towards, in which case you'll kind of stash that stuff away. But generally, you're looking for higher stat roll stuff, and you're looking for stuff that matches the affinity you're looking for. So I'm only ever going to compare solar chest plates with other solar chest plates, arc helmets with other arc helmets, and so on and so forth. What this allows you to do is that anytime you need those types of stuff, you can quickly swap over to them, right? You've got your best of the best for your arc, your solar, and your void as needed. I hope that makes sense. So, now what we are going to do is we are going to pick up every single archetype of a weapon that we can find, and we're going to start comparing them side by side. Remember when I talked about the better devils way at the beginning of the video? We're going to pick up all hand cannons right now for all freaking archetypes, and we're going to start comparing them side by side. We're only going to compare archetypes of similar types. So we're not going to compare 140 hand cannons, adaptive hand cannons, with any other types of hand cannons. We're only going to be comparing within its class. So I'm not going to be comparing the better devils to a spare rations, because, You know, God forbid 140s actually finally get a buff, you want to have a good 140. You might have a good spare rations, but you might not have that 140 that you might be looking for. So it's good to have one of each type. Remember when 600 autos were crap? That's why we hold on to them, just in case anything ever becomes a meta. So I did that thing where I accidentally cleared my recording like a dumbass. I talked brilliantly about all the hand cannons and such, and I messed it up. So we're going to do it with auto rifles instead. I think he's got a lot of autos, so we might be here for just a second picking all these up. Okay, I think I got all of his autos. There's a very large possibility I missed a few of them, but you just rinse and repeat what we've already done. Dim, like I said, will make your life a lot easier, so we'd probably be using Dim to make sure we've got all of our autos out of our vault. But now, here's what we do. We start comparing similar archetypes side by side. So let's start with the 720. We equip the 720s, and then we compare it to other 720s. That's a 450, so we don't care. 600, we don't care. 600, we don't care. There's a 720 right there. So we've got Outlaw Triple Tap versus Dynamic Sway Moving Target. Now, I'm looking at this from a PvP player's perspective, and the thing is that Dynamic Sway is absolutely god tier for auto rifles, especially rapid fire ones like this. And again, Moving Target, another absolutely fantastic one. For the Reckless Oracle, this might be an okay PvE role, but I don't think it's anything to really write home about. So, despite it having slightly better stats in terms of the handling and reload speed department, we are far more worried about the perks on this Misfit being absolutely amazing. We're going to go ahead and keep it. Oh, one thing I should bring up, I almost forgot to mention here. This does make things interesting because sunsetting is a thing now. If we get rolls that are close, let's say that this Reckless Oracle had like Dynamic Sway Triple Tap. It's not great. Triple Tap is not great for PvP, but because it's going to be sunset soon, the Misfit's going to be sunset relatively soon, it might be worth it to hold on to it. That's a judgment call for you at home if you're thinking about something like that. Don't put too much weight on it, though. More than likely, you'll be able to find something that can fill that gap. So finding something that you can ride with in the meantime, you know, that's good, is probably just fine. Get rid of that one there. All right, now we've got a lot of 600 autos we're going to have to compare here. Now, like I said, we're looking for the cream of the crop. We're getting rid of everything else that we don't care about here. So we're looking at this Gnawing Hunger. Gnawing Hunger being an absolutely fantastic role. And the one thing that should immediately jump out to us here is that this is a Subsistence Rampage role, which is not great in PvP, but is pretty awesome in PvE. A lot of fun in PvE, in fact. So we're going to be comparing these a little bit differently. We're going to be comparing these from a PvE perspective. That's a 450. There's another 600. But these are all essentially separate types of roles. For example, we've got two Gnawing Hungers back to back here. One Zen Moment Kill Clip, one Subsistence Rampage. The Zen Moment Kill Clip is a far better PvP role, but Subsistence Rampage is an excellent PvE role. So we're actually going to keep both of them here. Like I said, we only make one or two exceptions for this within an archetype, like within an entire type of weapon, I should say. So autos in general. You should only make like one or two exceptions for keeping multiples of the same archetype of weapon. So we aren't going to be keeping any more auto rifles in the energy slot, which we shouldn't have to worry about because we're basically done anyway. So this, now let's compare it for PvP. We got Zen Moment Kill Clip versus Moving Target Tap to Trigger. The thing right away is that Zen Moment is an absolutely fantastic perk. Tap to Trigger is also a pretty fantastic perk. Kill Clip I think is absolutely amazing in PvP. Moving Target's pretty good. Now we start comparing stats because we essentially, in my mind, I consider these basically equivalent. Now you might be a Zen Moment cultist where you say Zen Moment, way to go every single time. But in my mind, I think Tap to Trigger is pretty damn equal. Or you might be in the opposite boat where it's like, hey, Tap to Trigger is the way to go every single time. But again, my personal judgment here, I'm going to be making a little bit differently. You're going to be making that decision on your own. And in my mind, I think these two are pretty equal. So now we start comparing stats. As we can see here, Gnawing Hunger just has better range, very close on the stability, very close on the handling, slightly better reload, and a slightly bigger magazine. Range is pretty darn good for an auto rifle. The stability and handling are basically negligible in terms of how much it's losing, so Zen Moment Kill Clip is going to be the thing that we are going to keep here. Not to mention, It has the bonus of being with the new Season of Arrivals little mark up there, so that is get even better stats. All right, now let's compare these two. We've got Dragonfly with high impact reserves or dynamic sway and kill clip. Now this ringing nail is pretty solid, but the thing is that this is obviously a PvE roll. So now let's actually compare our two PvE rolls side by side. Subsistence Rampage versus Dragonfly high impact reserves. I think Dragonfly high impact reserves just does not do enough. I think Rampage is the way to go here. So goodbye ringing nail. That leaves us with the PvP roll, and that's all we should be able to do. Let's do it for the autos in the primary slot real quick. And that's pretty much the gist. You just rinse and repeat for everything that you've got. Like I stated, you're looking for primarily one good PvE roll among just above every other type within the archetype. So like one that's like your auto rifle for energy is like, this is my PvE energy auto, right? Whereas, you know, for PvP, you're going to be looking at each individual archetype. So comparing for auto rifle 600s to other 600s, 450s to other 450s, and so on. Make sure that you're very picky about what you're picking. Start with the perks, then go to the stats if they're equivalent in your mind, and go from there. Make sure that you lightly take into account the maximum power cap that they can end up reaching, because some of the stuff will end up power capping a lot earlier, so it might be worth it if something's pretty darn close to just lean on the one that has a slightly higher power cap. But that's the gist. Hope you guys enjoyed. I know this is a bit of an odd one, but maybe this might help you out. Be sure to share the video around. It helps us out a lot, and we're still growing as a small channel and a group of friends. Bless your faces, and deuces.